They say cops arrest and the courts release, but that doesn't really apply in countries with tougher laws, like the United States. Over there it's simple, mess around and you will find out. No plot twists, no novella-style courtroom drama, just cold, hard sentencing. So if you're lucky enough to be watching this from your couch and not a prison cell, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into the reactions of crime bosses when they finally get hit with that long-awaited justice. Jaleel Riley was one of 3 suspects involved in a robbery gone horribly wrong back in 2013. It all ended with the tragic death of a young woman named Portia Brooks. 2 years later, Riley, just 22 years old, finally confessed to being part of the crime. That confession brought a little peace to her grieving family, who had waited far too long to see justice served. At trial, with Portia's loved ones present, Riley was sentenced to life in prison. No chance for parole, no light at the end of the tunnel. And that's when reality came crashing down. The man straight up collapsed in the courtroom. He hit the ground like his soul gave up before he even left the building.
Or defendant serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4 for the offense of attempted murder.
Turns out he and his attorney had expected something lighter. Big mistake. In that courtroom, sympathy was in short supply, and the judge wasn't playing. Zaire Duffy wasn't your everyday street dealer. This guy made it all the way to federal watch lists for his role in trafficking opioids, including fentanyl. He managed to stay off the radar for years, with investigations dating all the way back to 2013, but in 2021, his run came to an end after a wild, high-speed chase that looked straight out of an action movie. Once caught, the police found an arsenal of firearms and enough drugs to shut down a pharmacy. In court, with nowhere to run and the evidence stacked a mile high, Duffy confessed. But then came the drama. He looked into the judge's eyes and gave a speech, said he was sorry, said he wasn't a monster, said he was changing his life, and just when you think he might be turning a new leaf,
man, I was doing good out there. I was not selling drugs. I was doing none of that. I was trying to get my life on track, man.
He winks at the courtroom camera like he's in an Instagram reel. Nice try, buddy. The judge hit him with 13 years and 4 months in federal prison. And just like that, the tears turned into swearing. One moment he was begging, and the next he was cursing the system.
How is this a justice system, right?
It's justice because I gave you more opportunities. I'm talking right now.
Joaquin Guzman, better known as El Chapo, wasn't just a drug lord, he was the drug lord. With a nickname that means shorty, he stood at only 5'6". But his criminal empire reached global levels. In the 80s and 90s, he founded the Sinaloa Cartel, set up routes into the US, and turned himself into a legend of crime. He was first arrested in 1993 and hit with a 20-year sentence. But in true movie villain fashion, he escaped in 2001 by bribing guards in a supposedly max security prison. Then came his 2014 rearrest. Great, right? Wrong. He escaped again through a tunnel dug under his prison cell like it was Shawshank Redemption, Mexican edition. In 2016, after a shootout, El Chapo was finally captured once more and extradited to the United States, where the courts were not playing games. This time, there were no tunnels, no bribes, no second chances. He was sentenced to life without parole. His reaction? Let's just say that smug look vanished real fast. Sometimes even the biggest bosses realize that cell door isn't opening again. Pedro Espinoza was only 23, but he already had a rap sheet longer than most people's resumes. He was deep into gang life, proudly flashing his 18th Street Gang face tattoo like it was a badge of honor. In 2008, he committed a senseless act. He shot and killed a 17-year-old high school athlete, thinking he was in a rival gang because of the color of his backpack. He wasn't. He was just walking home. The case shocked the country.
And he was a good brother to me.
And when Pedro went to trial in 2012, the jury didn't go easy on him. He was sentenced to death. But here's the wild part. He showed no emotion, no fear, no regret. It was like he thought the whole thing was just a formality. He stood there like he was waiting for someone to hand him a parking ticket. If he was hoping for mercy, he left it too late, because the system wasn't about to let that one slide.
At which time and place you shall then put to death Pedro Espinosa in the manner prescribed by law.
Ask anyone in Rio de Janeiro about Antonio Bonfim Lopez and they might shrug. Ask them about Nemda Rochinha. Now that name rings bells. He ruled over Rochinha, one of the largest favelas in Brazil, controlling the drug trade and running one of the 4 major criminal factions in the city. By 2010, he was so wanted that he tried to fake his own death to escape the cops. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. When a new police unit moved into Rochinha in 2011, Nem became the #1 target. A reward that started at 5,000 reais skyrocketed to 50,000 for info on his location. And finally, that worked. He was caught and sentenced to 96 years. Let that sink in. That's not just jail. That's a full-on reset on your entire life. Even today, his legal team keeps trying to appeal the decision, but not a single one of those appeals has gone through. He's not getting out. Not now, not later, not ever. One of the most notorious drug lords in Latin America, Fernandinho Beiramar, rose to infamy in the 1990s. He led criminal operations in the Beiramar favela in Duque de Caxias near Rio de Janeiro. This guy wasn't just slinging weed, he was one of Brazil's most wanted, dealing in firearms too, and at one point had to flee the country, hiding out in Paraguay and Uruguay. A high-ranking member of the Comando Vermelho gang, Fernandinho was finally captured by the Colombian military in 2001. The next year, he was extradited and slapped with an 80-year sentence. Basically life behind bars. But did that faze him? Not at all. Dude blew kisses to the courtroom like he was at a concert. Over the years, new crimes kept piling up, more trials, more years added. His sentence now sits at a casual 309 years and 2 months. And guess what? He still doesn't seem to care. It's like he thinks he's on vacation. Blake Jefferson was 22 when he committed an unthinkable crime. He took the life of his own mother in 2017. He didn't just commit the act, he tried to hide the body in the garage, then crawled into a neighbor's closet like that was a solid plan. The neighbor heard strange noises, called the cops, and well, the game was over. During the trial, Blake claimed he had mental health issues worsened by drug use, said he was hearing voices, seeing things, but the judge wasn't buying it. He was sentenced to life in a psychiatric facility without parole. And you can actually see the regret hit him in real time. His face changes, his whole vibe sinks. It's the kind of reaction that makes you realize some people only understand the weight of what they did when the door finally slammed shut. Known on the streets as Zoio do PCC, Adriano da Silva ran a major criminal network in the state of Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil. He was the middleman between cartel suppliers and local dealers across the country. But in 2016, things went downhill. By 2018, he was caught red-handed with over 800 kilograms of illicit goods. He was sentenced to 22 years, but Zoio wasn't going down quietly. In court, he straight up called the judge a clown.
Vocês me tirou de lá de Presidente Venceslau lá para fazer 12 horas de viagem para escutar essa palhaçada aqui. Eu não vou ficar escutando isso daí não. Eu falei mesmo, não quero saber de nada.
On record, in front of everyone, and then kept going with the insult.
O senhor do Rogério dando a chave aqui, vocês não intimidam não, rapaz. Que é o primeiro comando da capital aqui, inimigo número 1 de vocês, rapaz.
Zero respect, full-on attitude. Meanwhile, the judge just sat there quietly, barely responding. Honestly, you'd think he was the one on trial. Safe to say, Zoio wasn't exactly feeling intimidated by the justice system.
Quanto aos disparos lá na casa do Rafael lá, quantas vezes for necessário eu mandar meus moleques lá, vou dar tiro mesmo. Quero nem saber de nada não.
Not every drug boss looks the part. Jose Govea Jimenez looks more like your uncle at a family barbecue than the head of a massive drug operation. But don't let the dad bod and polo shirt fool you. This guy was running an international network linked to Mexican cartels. He moved product, laundered money, and kept witnesses so scared that even after his arrest in 2017, people refused to testify. He pled guilty to all charges, including corruption, and was sentenced to 21 years. His reaction? Just a soft apology.
Y pido perdón por lo que yo he hecho.
And I apologize.
That's it. No breakdown, no drama, just my bad. But make no mistake, this quiet old dude had the power to make people vanish, even from behind bars. Charles Crosty, aka Rome, got busted in 2016 in Ohio with a stash that could have supplied an entire neighborhood. He was charged with trafficking, selling to minors, and building an entire distribution network within the state. Even though he didn't commit any violent crimes, the scale of his operation was so massive that he still got hit with a heavy sentence. 20 years and 9 months behind bars. And his reaction? Nothing. Not a blink, not a sigh, not even a raised eyebrow. He sat there like someone just told him lunch would be 5 minutes late. Either he already expected it, or the man's made of stone. Wild, right? If you made it this far without getting arrested, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. There's way more where that came from. See you in the next one.